First Minister's also endorsed the independent review of overseas health practitioner regulatory settings interim report that was led by Robin Cruck. We need to make sure that some of the bureaucracy that is taking too long to make sure that people with qualifications can actually participate and provide healthcare in this country, and that is part of that process. We will continue to work and will task health ministers with working to progress the recommendations and report back to the National Cabinet, and we will have a meeting, as I said, in the last quarter of 2023 dedicated to that. The First Ministers, the National Cabinet also discussed our NDIS financial sustainability framework. We need to have a sustainable growth trajectory for the NDIS in order to support equity and fairness for all Australians who are living with disability, including those not eligible for the NDIS, and ensure that every dollar goes to those who need it most. We know that the trajectory of NDIS expenditure is just not sustainable into the future. Indeed, that trajectory projects some $97 billion on the NDIS over in the medium term. So in 10 years' time, when you look at the budget framework, and that is simply not sustainable. The growth over the period in between the last budget and October, of course, was alone some $8 billion in just those few months. So we want to make sure that the promise of the NDIS is fulfilled. We want to make sure that the Commonwealth can work with the NDIA board to take immediate action to ensure a sustainable scheme. And in order to do that, we're committing $720 million in the upcoming budget to lift the NDIA's capability, capacity and systems so that it provides better support for participants. The framework is the next step and will provide an annual growth target in the total costs of the scheme of no more than 8% by 1 July 2026, with further moderation of growth as the scheme matures. Everyone here is absolutely committed to the NDIS. We want to make sure that it actually can continue into the future in a sustainable way. We had a range of measures around the theme of better planning for stronger growth. Housing ministers will develop a proposal for National Cabinet to deal with later this year, outlining reforms to strengthen renters' rights across the country. State and territory governments have a range of measures in place. We want to make sure we look at best practice and that we strengthen the rights of renters. As part of the new National Migration Strategy, the Commonwealth will ensure that states and territories have a greater contribution to Australia's migration settings as well. We need to make sure that we get the right people in the right places in order to fulfil the jobs and the demand that is there for skilled labour and for workforce without putting undue pressure on particular areas of Australia where there's been a concentration in the past.